Hi everyone, I'm Scott Schneider. This is Stereo Niche. Hey, this week we're going to talk about things that have been selling for collectible audio over the past several months. As you can see, the look here is a little bit different than usual. Had a big impact from the storm that just came through, so having to adjust accordingly, but stick around. All right, so this week, as I mentioned, we're going to look at what's been selling in the audio collectible arena for the last several months. And this is something I do periodically. In addition, at the end of the video, I'm going to showcase several viewer systems, so stick around for that as well. So I'm going to kick it off and jump into what's been selling online for the last several months. And there's some cool stuff here, so you might want to stick around and watch it till the very end. Well, starting us off, it's a Pioneer exclusive TAD. This is the model 2401. Look at those things. Those are just works of art. I mean, they really are to me. These sold for apparently a buy it now of $82.99, and they're a very rare speaker. I've not seen any sell before that I can recall, so I'm not sure if that's a good price or a high price. Just looking at them, honestly, it looks like a good price to me, but what an incredible set of speakers. They look pretty massive, of course, two dollies for each. So yeah, going to take up some room, but man, if you can accommodate these things, I think you've got something to talk about. They got some great pictures here for them. Here are the serial numbers on the back of each, and then the back side, but never heard them, never seen them. I imagine they are exceedingly rare, but what a cool speaker. All right, moving on. Here's a set of Krell FPB 4500 MCX Class A monoblocks. Those look pretty impressive. Kind of taller than the normal Krells that I'm typically used to seeing and have. These sold for $10,490. As a pair. Can't imagine how heavy these things must be. I've got several units, and believe me, they're typically cinder blocks or more. And they have the boxes and everything to go with it, which is very important for very heavy units like this. Always try to keep your original boxes. I actually have the wood crates for some early Krells that I have. Up next, a pair of vintage RCA BA4C broadcast tube amps. And these look similar to some tube amps I picked up last year. I haven't had them reconditioned yet, but these are pretty nice looking. Don't know the power output of these, but yeah, they look pretty nice. Sold for $5,100. So after 44 bids, so someone or several people wanted these in a pretty good way. Next up, some JBL studio speakers, the model 4355. And they look as big as refrigerators. These things look massive. Look at the, I guess those are two 15-inch woofers there. Pretty large. Something under $36,000. Looks like a best offer was accepted for these, but wow, what a huge cabinet. And I can't imagine, it just looks like you would have a concert going on in front of you. If you were standing in front of these were just incredibly large. I imagine they sound, crazy good. So this is an EMT 930. What looks to be an Ortofon tone arm, I think is what that's saying. So this has this sold for $6,500. Buy it now. I'm not familiar with this brand, but looks to be a heavy-duty transcription type turntable. Perhaps it looks like it would have dropped into a sort of a vertical cabinet. Quite cool looking. Honestly, I've never seen this before, so I find it quite interesting. I need to dig up a little history on this brand, but it has sort of that hammered finish to it, which sort of reminds me of the 1950s quite a bit. The seller did take quite a few nice pictures, so I wanted to point that out. They were very good at taking some good shots, clear. They look like they set it up in a shadow box or something. Very well done. Looks like an idler drive. Okay, next up is the Sakura FM reference audiophile FM1 tuner. And this brought in $6,300 or best offer, it looks like. So quite a new Sakura. I've owned one of these tuners in the past. Awesome tuners. I ended up selling it because it's where I live. I just don't have much in the way of any programming, but still, nonetheless, they are a fantastic tuner. They were quite the specialist in their tuner technology, and they had some great units over the years. Now this is cool. I could not have imagined, if you were to ask me, if an Emerson record player, even the Jimmy O here, would have sold for anything near $7,000, but someone apparently bought it. Can't say that it's not cool. It looks like it's been very well restored. It's an excellent looking unit and quite unique. It certainly screams MCM. If you are looking for something unique in a specific setting, this probably fits the bill. You know, I can't say that I've ever seen this before, but not something I just would have imagined seeing here, to be honest. Very cool. Looks like a lot of attention to detail. They staged the pictures very well. Great job in presentation. The gold and the red, you know, the aesthetic here is just very interesting. Now here's a powerhouse. This is the Sansui G22000. And if you have not seen these are a two-part release from Sansui. They had the 22,000 and the 33,000, and they were two parts. There was the front end receiver unit, and then the the other component being the amp, and it just came in two parts. Now you could set these up to be, you know, connected, I think, front to back, but I think they look cool. Most cool how they're shown here, which is the receiver stacked on top. Not sure if it was meant to be that way for sure. I've actually not looked at the manual, but I think it looks pretty impressive stacked this way. He took some very nice pictures, had it set up very well. The one interesting thing, and this goes for the G20 9700 or the X700 series, I never was a fan of the connections being on the side, and I guess I can partially understand that for this, but I think they could have done a little bit better job in cable management and being able to hide things, but that's how they did it. You would have had these, you know, these wires very noticeable on the sides, you know, of the unit. But anyway, it's an extremely rare system and quite hard to find. If you've got one, you know, you're pretty lucky. Next up is a Marantz 2500, and it looked like we went through a period where several of these sold. This one has original box and paperwork. It sold for $7,200, was bid up 64 times. Looks like this one came out of Canada. This one looks to be in very nice shape. There's an interior shot. And here's another 2500. This one doesn't mention the box in the ad here, but it sold for $6,500, so a little bit less, but also looks to be in very nice shape. Now here's a 2600, so a little bit larger. This is the, let's see, there's a video that they uploaded. Looks to be in good shape. This one sold for $78.50 as buy it now. Not sure I would have put that heavy receiver on top of that fairly skimpy looking table, but I guess it survived. Now here is the Pioneer SX 1980, the monster. The big boy from Pioneer, sold for right at $12,000. Case looks to be in very nice shape. Took some nice shots from all angles. On to the Marantz Model 1. Now I don't know how rare these are, but the early Marantz tube era was extremely and exceedingly rare. Marantz was not a volume seller during their early years. So I would imagine finding a Model 1 is pretty tough to do, but this one sold for some best offer under $12,888. Interesting decision on the price point there. Took some very nice shots. I've not seen any with it. This must be a custom cabinet. I've never seen this cabinet before, but I think they did a good job in putting this cabinet and putting these together. All right, we're going to kick it off with Jim in Detroit. Now, this is Jim's office system, and doesn't that look stellar? Look at that. Look at all the cool gear, but also he's got some interesting album art hanging on the wall. Lots of great-looking media there. So great space to work in and listen to some tunes. Let's see. So Jim says he's listening to music anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day, and it's up to 6 times a week. So he's in there quite a bit. So in the rack, he's got his collection of reel-to-reel music, and a lot of it is classical, but also some jazz and rock and pop and some other soundtracks. On the rack, he's got a Pioneer PL L1000A turntable sitting on top. Underneath that, it's a Pioneer SX1010. We know how awesome that receiver is. On down from there, an RT707 from Pioneer, reel to reel. Those are really cool. Those are the, not the sort of full tall ones that take up a lot of room. And typically you have to mount those on top. But this series is narrow enough that, as you can see, Jim here was able to squeeze it into a shelf. So they're really cool units. There's also a Pioneer CTF9191 cassette deck. It's got a CD player from Onkyo, a C7030, and he streams to it using a WEM Mini, which I can't quite tell where it is in there, but it's mini, so it's in there somewhere. Let's see, on the CD and streamer, he feeds those to a Geshelli Labs J2 DAC. And then unfortunately we can't see them, but he's got also for speakers, a set of Wharfdale Evo 4.2s. So he says he has a joke with his wife that he's going to have to upsize when they retire just so he can have room for all his vintage stereo stuff and media. Well, I think Jim is just like a lot of us here with that problem. Right, up next is Jeff. Not sure where Jeff hails from exactly, but he's got started back in the hobby last November, and also he collects vinyl records and gear from the golden era. I think that turntable we've got here is let's see, it's a U-turn, or I think it's called. It's fairly new. I'm not familiar with that brand or specifically the model. But then he's got some really cool gear here. Pioneer, what is that? D7000, I think, on the right, and then maybe a let's see, an SX750 or something there on the left. And then below, it looks like another Pioneer integrated amp, maybe a 6500 2 or something, and a cassette deck. I think that's Cambridge Audio, I believe. Looking at a further out picture, combine all that with a nice set of Yamaha NS1000. Unfortunately, I didn't get a list of models here, so I'm kind of looking and seeing what I can make out. And I'm pretty sure that's the NS1000Ms. Very nice setup. All right, and lastly we have Vincent. Let's see, I don't think Vincent said where he was located, unfortunately, but here's a nice shot of his system. Got some cool blue lights going on there. On top, we've got a Riga P3 turntable with a vintage Audio-Technica cartridge. Underneath that, a Macintosh. We can see that very familiar blue glow. That's an MC2155 amp. Running that part of the system, it's a Parasound Z-Pre 3 preamp, and then he's got connected to it an SM-SL DAC, a Scheidt Monty Phono Stage, Sanguine HD radio tuner, a Sony CD player as a transport, and those are Snell E3 speakers. I had a set of E3 speakers many years ago before I relocated, and they were needing a little bit of restoration, but otherwise they were in really good shape. And I so much wanted to keep those speakers. Unfortunately, when I moved, I had to sell them, but very much would like to have another set. I have some A3s actually that I'm planning to review and go through pretty soon. I need to check them out, make sure they're ready, but going to go through those fairly soon. So some Snells are on the way. Here's another couple of other close-up shots of Vincent's system, looking very nice. All right, well, there you have it. That was a little bit quicker than normal, but I wanted to touch base on the things that have been selling. It's something I do at least once a quarter. There were quite a few unique things that we saw. The turntable was something unique. That Emerson console, not something I've ever seen before, and not a price point I expected or would have assumed if I'd have seen it before it sold. But interesting, there are certainly things out there that have a unique look, and you know, you can certainly command a good price. Now, it does look like it was very well done. The restoration of it, assuming it was in bad shape, I don't know, but it looks like it was, you know, a very, very nicely conditioned unit. So that was nice to see. I'll have to do some research on this turntable, but there were quite a few things that we're used to seeing. Always seems to be a Pioneer SX 1980 in the mix. We did see some fairly rare tube amps in the RCAs. Several Marantzes are selling. The larger ones seem to be commanding a good price as well. So that's, I don't think we've seen quite a few Marantzes in prior quarters, but interesting to see those. Viewer systems, some cool systems out there. If you guys want to showcase your systems here, send me some good quality pictures. Give me a little information about what's in the setup. You know, list the units in there. Tell me a little bit about what you're interested in and where you're located, and I'll get those in a future episode. So I think that'll do it for this week. If you guys don't want to miss the next video, hit subscribe. Give us a thumbs up while you're doing that, and we'll see you next time.